Welcome to another edition of Toasted Traveler. I'm your host, John Haymack, and today we have some special guests. We have everyone in here is a nurse, so thank you guys for what you do. Kind of the hero frontline workers that have worked COVID, all different aspects, all different kind of nursing in here, and thought we'd bring everyone together to kind of have a little fun edition about traveling, about nursing in general, and just a lot of fun about different patient stories. Of course, HIPAA compliant in here. But just having a little fun today. So why don't we just go around here and introduce ourselves and kind of tell us, you don't have to tell us where you work, but what kind of nurse you are, how long you've been a nurse, and we'll kick it off from there. So to my right, who do I have here?
So I'm Danielle Atkinson. I've been a nurse for 11 years, and I kind of work all over the place.
Nice. So you've worked ICU, PCU, you've traveled a bunch. I've looked at your resume and quite an extensive list of nursing. So nice. Well, welcome. Excited to have you here. Who's next?
Teresa. I have been a nurse for 10 years, and I've primarily worked in PCUs.
PCUs, awesome. And for people that don't understand PCUs, it's a progressive care unit. Usually take care of the patients right after the ICU. A lot of different elements that go involved there. Very, very smart nurses. So who do we have next?
I am Alex. I work in CICU. I've been there for 4 years. I've been a nurse for 7.
Nice. What's the ICU?
Okay, cardiac ICU.
Gotcha.
Not cardiovascular.
Gotcha.
Not. Hi, Alicia. I have been a nurse for almost 6 years now, worked PCU, and then now I work cardiac ICU as well.
Awesome. And I'm John. I have worked ICU, ER, and PCU going on almost 10 years. So, yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with you guys. Very, very good nurses here. Why did you guys become nurses? What drove you to do what you guys do?
I thought nursing could be a good profession to get a job in, and I do like science and facts and critical thinking.
And so you went back to school to become a nurse?
No, it was my undergrad.
Gotcha.
I did 5 years at
Okay.
PSU.
Nice.
Well, once upon a time, I loved little old people. Like, we used to volunteer a lot. I'm like, oh, they're cute, they're precious. So I'm like, what can I do to help? And I like the science, killed it in the anatomy area. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
And would you do it again?
Probably yes.
Yeah.
Glutton for punishment.
Teresa.
A little bit of, it was going to be a good job, like a lot of job security and nursing, obviously. But I joined the National Guard and did a lot of like first aid type courses, really piqued my interest. And I went into nursing from there.
And Miss Danielle.
I've always wanted to be a nurse. I come from a family with quite a few. My mom, my great-grandma, my uncle. And I wouldn't change it.
If you weren't a nurse, what would you be doing?
Probably a storm chaser.
Okay.
I like tornadoes.
Really?
Yeah. Or a representative for Tito's.
I think that's a Tito's ambassador.
All right. So COVID, now that you're seeing patients with it, what's your perspective on, where we're at with COVID, where we're going? Anybody?
I never believed that it wasn't real. It was just kind of like a matter of time. Like, when was it going to come to our hospital? So
And it's something you don't really know how to prepare for.
Yeah.
Like a lot of patients that we have that are really, really sick, like you learn that they weren't wearing a mask, and they're dying, and they are still, saying that masks probably didn't help.
Yeah.
So that's really pretty frustrating. So I just try to educate them about, wear a mask.
To be fair, I think it's very hard for people to wrap their heads around it. It's all, since it is such a contagious disease, it's very difficult for people to be like, okay, I've seen it, they don't. And I think probably where I work is a hyper awareness, because that's a lot of pretty much all I see anymore.
Sure.
And the complications that it brings about and things like that, where, they're like, okay, well, only so many people died. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't see the people that live. Right. And that's really frustrating, because even to try to convey that to my family, they part of it get it, but it's not the same.
People don't understand ICU in the first, if they're not in the medical field, they don't understand the ICU setting in the first place. So try to tell them that their loved one's basically gone and they're hoping for the best is really hard sometimes.
It looks as though the percentage of nurses getting the vaccine seems kind of low. I've heard a lot of physicians that I've talked to that there's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of people that just feel as though, there's so many viruses out there. How did this, vaccine come about so quickly? Why is it now that, this vaccine, as healthcare professionals that we trust? Thoughts?
I mean, I definitely initially wasn't yeah, give me the vaccine. I was nervous about it for sure, just because it did come about so quickly and we don't have a lot of information on it. But I mean, ultimately, you have to do what's best for everybody, and it's getting vaccinated. So receive my first vaccine. Awesome. So I get my second one next week.
Well, and I think the foundation of vaccines is already there. So, I mean, yeah, they had to go quicker, but I don't know that it was as much as people think, because
Who does days? Who does nights here? Nights.
I just came to days 6 months ago after
Yeah.
7 years on night.
How are you getting accustomed to it?
I feel much better.
So you think you'll stay on nights?
No, I think, especially like it or not, all of this that's been going on is very stressful. And then added stress of staying up all night is just not doing good things to me, to be honest with you. So long term, that's probably not an option.
Sure. I think that's one of the things I tell, new nurses that come in to the ICU or different levels of nursing, just of, they're like, oh, I love nights because it allows me to do stuff. And I'm like, you're also very young and, your body will take a toll on you after a while. How many people here have been assaulted or kicked, punched, spit?
I've been spit at by someone who had COVID. I just extubated her. She, I think, had some psych issues in the first place. And then there's the, quote, COVID brain. I mean, there probably was a lot of factors, ICU delirium. However, she knew she had COVID. She knew where she was.
The healthcare system does enough to protect nurses currently.
Well, in this situation, the security was just chilling outside the room. And I'm like, can I get some help in here, please? I had to wrestle a spit hood on her, which is basically a mesh bag that you put over someone's head.
Yeah. I mean, I think Missouri's done a pretty good job in terms of passing some legislation to help nurses that get assaulted.
To be fair, a lot of times in the ICU, and even on the floor, they don't really know what they're doing. Right. They are delirious. They're detoxing. They're doing things that are outside of, they're literally, I mean this nicely, but they're out of their mind.
Sure.
Completely out of their mind.
I mean, one of the things that I'm reading now is kind of the PTSD for nurses dealing with COVID patients or being in ICU just because of the amount of stress that you guys go through.
Honestly, 3 days in a row is a lot of work.
Right.
For me personally.
I think a lot of the tricky thing is that you become a nurse because part of it, you want a good job, yada, yada. But to be a good nurse, you have to care.
And I think we see it everywhere at every hospital, just the staffing. Everyone's like, oh, my hospital doesn't support me. I'm like, the grass is not always greener. Every hospital has its shortages. I think that, everyone's doing the best they can. And it's just, we all collectively as a team, we pick up the slack and work well. I mean, what do you think your most embarrassing moment at work's been so far?
I mean, stupid. When I was a brand new nurse on the floor, brand new, this patient was diabetic and I gave him just a regular soda because I like regular soda. So
I like burgers.
Not a diet. And checked his blood sugar later. It was 400. And my preceptor was so nice. She was, you remember? No, I haven't.
Teresa, you've been around for a while. You've had to done something that.
I almost passed out once trying to put an NG tube in.
Really?
Yeah, I worked night shift. This is in Texas. I'll never forget it. I had to take a knee and call the charge nurse. I was legit about to pass out.
Just from not eating or what?
I don't really recall the events surrounding it, but I do remember I was sick for a whole day. It was maybe food poisoning or something, but I almost went down.
That is my least favorite task to do.
I actually don't care about that, so I don't think it had anything to do with the end.
All right, so that brings me back to best shoes. What shoes do you suggest nurses
I prefer
You wear 'em
like,
every
just Asics or Brooks.
Really?
Good athletic shoe, mostly because I walk a lot.
Are you one of those people that have like their Apple Watch set to see how many steps they've taken a day?
I mean, it'll tell me if I check it, but I know it's at least like 7 miles a day.
What advice do you think you can give somebody who's just brand new in nursing school?
You know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
You will learn every single day. That's the beauty of our field, is that you learn every day. There's different things coming out every day, different viruses popping up every day. So always opportunities for learning.
Where do you think nursing is going to change in the future?
I hope everything's wireless.
Wireless. Yeah, I mean, I can see the wireless aspect. You know, when you send a patient to an OR and you come back and they're all tangled. I'm just curious from like, you know, you guys are all very highly intelligent, charge nurses, you know, travelers. What do you think nurses need to do better for themselves that they're not currently doing now?
Having like a dog, having a couple of dogs to come home to is very helpful. And just getting rest and
I'm on medication, so.
Yeah.
And I advocate for it because it does help.
Sure.
Talking to other coworkers isn't your thing. Therapy is a good thing. Let it just get it out. Take time for yourself.
The dating life of dating someone in healthcare. I think it's very challenging if someone doesn't understand what you do. I mean, you said your boyfriend's in IT, and on his rough day, he's telling people to press control to delete or turn off the power and turn it back on. No offense to him, don't kick my ass. I'm just saying. But we see death every day. We see really, really sick people, and
Especially now with COVID. I mean, they time out after 20 days at our facility, and family can finally see them, and they want to spend more time with them, and we tell them that they're dying, and they don't want to make a decision for another week and a half because they want every single family member to come, which I understand, but it's inevitably making the patient suffer longer, and it's hard for us to see, which I don't know. I understand both views on both sides, but
right.
I'd say have that conversation with your family.
Yeah.
That'd be the most beneficial thing. Have the conversation, go get something signed that's legal. That sounds silly, but it's really easy to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to let mom go if she, has X, Y, and Z happen. But then when that happens, it's very easy to get caught up because it's an emotional response. That's your loved one dying. And to have a plan established beforehand really helps clarify that so that you won't feel bad saying, okay, well, mom never would have wanted to live on a trach on a ventilator for the rest of her life. You still might not make that decision, but at least that's established. That's something simple that anybody can go and do.
I was having a conversation probably a couple of years ago with some nurses that have been there 10, 15 years about religion. I think, it's very interesting. There's a lot of nurses I knew that grew up, full Catholic and, all that kind of stuff, and they're in nursing, and now they either have a stronger religious view or they have, they're just like, I don't believe in religion. Do you guys see that a lot at all, or?
I'm not really religious.
Right.
I don't consider myself religious. I consider myself spiritual.
Right.
But either way, upholding whatever family is important to them.
Like what? What have you seen that's been like?
No, but I was talking to this nurse, and then out of the corner of my eye, I heard this bang, and then like a shadowy figure. I know this sounds insane, but like a shadowy figure like moved from like 2 doors down, and we both looked and we're like, wait, where did that person go? And there was no one there. It was very bizarre. And I don't go out like seeking that stuff. I'm not saying it's not real, but
Right.
I don't know, it was bizarre. And it gave me like a chill because it was like a whoosh of air too, and it was weird. And then my patient died the next day. I don't know.
What else? Give me a good story, Danielle.
I mean, embarrassing. Like, I had a patient spit some nasty ass green Louis on my arm, and I promptly grabbed the trash can and threw up in front of them.
What else? So, in terms of longevity for nurses, what do you think? When's it time to hang it up?
I say when you've got the dementia, probably you shouldn't be a nurse anymore.
The timeline's not the same for everybody. Some people are like, oh gosh.
Never.
Good
Don't
luck.
be a nurse.
Other people are like, yeah, man, you got at least 20 more years. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps us up. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate, what you guys do. You guys are the frontline heroes of this whole thing. And we're, proud to call you my colleague and friends.